Okay. Welcome everybody to the wonderful processing party. It is 10 o'clock on the, well, pretty close to 10 o'clock on the dot. Good evening. We got a few people coming in. I'm just going to wait a tiny little bit so to make sure that we get people coming in. That way nobody misses out. Got some windows pulled up, so this way it'll make it easier. I'm going to go and try to dumb it down a little bit for everybody. Especially if you're just starting in astrophotography or if you're just starting to take pictures and whatnot. Some of you are very experienced. Some of you haven't even tried yet. But what I'm going to go over real fast tonight is what's called calibration frames. And I briefed everybody a little bit about calibration frames, as I have everything pulled up of what descriptions of what each certain thing does to an image. So I have this scene pulled up here, and then I have another scene that we're going to flip when we're done with part one. This is going to be split into two parts. And it's both going to be tonight, so don't fret. I'm not going to end it and then wait till tomorrow. Part one is going to be the stacking, like you see here. And then part two is going to be the processing. And we're going to take the images that I took last night with the QHY. Okay? And there's going to be some behind-the-scenes things going around, but I will tell everybody how that works, as I have to debayer an image and everything. So that's going to take a little bit of time, but working with that. Right now, I'm actually taking darks as we speak. I have the camera out there, and it's taking darks with the lens cap on. Actually, it just finished. I just heard it click. So that's just one. The most time-consuming thing is when you're taking long exposures, you have to take the same amount of time for a dark than you do with the light. So if you take a 15-minute exposure, you have to take a 15-minute dark, which is oh so lovely. So, Jurgen, you're on. Chris Astro Channel, you're on. Ert Radio. Venus. Hello. Let me know if it's lagging. Please let me know. It says buffering, but... well, it says bad, but as far as I know, from what somebody told me, is as long as OBS is in the green, then I'm fine. So, OBS is in the green. It's not yellow. It's not red. So we're good. I'm not going to worry about it. It is what it is. So, let me just pull this up here. Okay. Make sure that's updated. Okay, that's updated. Okay, perfect. Alright. So I waited a few minutes to let everybody settle in. Get your drinks. Get your pizza. Get whatever you got. Let's dive in. Let's do this thing. So, you're outside. You're taking your images. It's a long night. You're tired. You want to go to sleep. And you figure, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, and I'm going to process this image. It's almost like it's like Christmas morning, the next morning when you wake up, because you know you took some great images, but there is hidden data that is there that you want to see. So you look at that one image and go, it's not that great. These other people are taking great images. Where's mine? That's where the magic happens, and that's what we're going to get into right now. So I'm going to go over a little bit here of what this screen entails. The first thing you would need is when you take your images, is you're going to have to download a free app, a free program called Deep Sky Stacker. You can probably find it online. You can also find it on my website. If you go to Astro Basics or Astro Blog, you'll be able to just download it straight from there. I actually have the link right on the website. Okay? So that'll be easy for everybody to actually download. Once you download it on there, a screen's going to pop up, and it's going to say Deep Sky Stacker, and you're going to have a big window that's in gray, and at the bottom you're going to have what's like a menu, like a box. Okay, on the left-hand side, you're going to have different options. I don't have them listed on here. You don't really need to know right now, this second. But the way to do it is I'm going to add the images onto this. So I'm going to open up my picture files. Okay, the menu on the left-hand side is pretty self-explanatory. If you can open up a file, you can open up this. It's very, very easy. It's going to say open up picture file, dark files, flat files, offset and bias frames. I'll go over each and every single one of them so this way everybody knows what each file does. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the images that I took last night. And the images I took last night were, of course, NGC 281, which is pretty easy. And that's the Pac-Man Nebula, which is super sweet. So I got to find them here, which is right here, NGC 281, NGC 281. They are all right here. So I'm going to open up each file individually. So then you can see that they're actually pulled up here. You can actually see them all on the bottom. Now here's the problem with that. Most people would do this if they have a colored camera that is like a DSLR or a regular CCD camera without a bearing matrix. These are all black and white images, okay? So it's going to show up in black and white. So I just want to show everybody what it looks like on the actual menu, okay? What I need to do is I need to actually go into each image and actually debayer them. So if certain people don't know how to debayer, that'll be another time, because this is just for stacking. Because if you have a CCD camera, you have to debayer them, and you have to actually use a certain program called Nebulosity. Okay? Which Nebulosity is another great program that you can use. So let me get this here. Give me 1 second here. And find them. There they are. Perfect. Okay. And I'm just debayering them right now. And actually what I can do, here's what I'll do. Here's what I will do. I will actually show you what it looks like. Okay? And then you can get an idea of what it looks like. Okay? This is the program called Nebulosity version 3.3. It's one of the newest versions out there that is for 3. 4 is out. I just don't want to pay for it right now. But 3 is just as good. Okay, this is not a free program, but you would use this solely for me, for debayering. Okay? So we have one of the images that's up. Okay? And I'm actually going to just bring this down. And you're going to see, this is one of the last images I took. This is when I was moving the mountain stuff, so this is a bad image. But I just wanted to just pull it up. And you can actually see, and you can use this as a capture program if you really wanted to. So what I do is I would go to Batch, okay? And then you're going to go to what's called Batch Demosaic plus Square Raw Color. Because what's happening is these pixels need to be squared off, okay? So what I need to do is I need to go to the actual files that are on here. Let me go to Details. Okay. And then we're going to go to by date, because we have a ton of files here. Alright, so then we're going to take all of these here that we took that night, which are all right here. Okay? That would be if you have a sky glow filter. Okay? We don't. What I want to do is I want to do one-shot color line filters, and we're going to extract the red. Okay? What we want to do. There we go. Alright, so now it's going to run each one individually now, where what it's going to do is it's actually going to take out the red channel on each picture. So it's done. So now we're going to close this out. Okay. And then we can actually close that out. So that way everybody can see that. So everybody good so far? I'm going to pull up the chat here. Okay, there we go. Alright. So now the files are going to say OSC. So now we're going to go back to these. Okay. Move. Okay. So now we have each individual frame put up there. So now you can actually see it. It's going to say OSC, which is one shot color, and then it's going to have R next to it. I know it's going to be really small. I apologize. I wish I had more room. Unfortunately, I don't. So let me just see if it's actually good or not. I don't know. Let me see. If anybody can't read something, please let me know. So then this way I can try to make things bigger. Oh yeah, you could read it. Alright, cool. So you can read it. Nice. Alright, so it's going to show how many light frames you took, dark frames, flat frames, dark flat frames, and offset and bias frames. Okay, so these are your light frames that I took that night. Usually what I do is up at the top right, there's a little slider here. And I like to move this over and make it a little bit lighter, and then move the left slider over, so this way it gets a little bit darker. So now you're going to actually start to see a little bit of detail on the actual nebulosity. So you can actually see the Pac-Man on the image. Oh, too much. That's perfect right there. And I can zoom in on this, and you can see it. So you can really see the detail. Now there's a lot of noise on this, and that's fine. But you can see the detail. So what I do is I go through each image individually and see how much it changed, if anything. See if there's any planes that went through. See, like this one's bad because this is the one that I moved it, so I just uncheck that. Okay? I might actually even just remove it completely, remove it off the list completely. Okay? So these are all the images here. They all look really good. They're all fantastic. They're all 15-minute images, and I took 7 last night. So we have 7 15-minute images, which is fantastic. That's actually not bad. It is not bad at all. That gets me about 105 minutes, so it is just under 2 hours, which is pretty good. So then what I do is the next thing we do is what's called calibration frames. So here's where we get into the fun part, okay? And I have it written out for everybody, so this way you can actually see what it means, okay? So a dark frame, okay, is the purpose of a dark frame is to remove the non-image related thermal and electronic noise that the CCD or DSLR generates when capturing the light frames. It also removes imperfections of the chip, such as hot pixels. Since we are capturing the buildup of the thermal and electric noise, it is important to match the dark frame to the same conditions to the light frame. This should include the same duration of exposure. So what that means is if I'm taking a 15-minute exposure, I can take a 15-minute dark, just like I said before. The chip temperature, that's where you're going to run into problems with the DSLR. Because DSLR happens is each night is different. And it's not a TEC. I was talking to ERT Radio about that earlier today. With a TEC, it's a thermal electric cooler. Okay? So it keeps it at constant temperature. You set the temperature. So on a very, very hot night, I crank up the percentage of the power to keep it at a certain temperature. On a cold night, I lower the power to try to match that temperature. Usually I like to be between negative 26 and negative 30 degrees Celsius below zero. So that way I can get it to be perfect. With a DSLR, it's a little bit different because when it's hot outside, usually you add about 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit above ambient temperature. Okay? So it's kind of hard with a DSLR. Okay? So the next thing would be gain. Okay? You have to set the gain on whether it's a DSLR or it's a CCD camera. I don't know if DSLRs do gain. I don't think they do. So I don't think you have to worry about that. Brightness and contrast, again, you don't have to worry about that either. Dark frames can be taken by covering the telescope. With these dark frames, we can generate a master dark frame. Okay? So what we do with this then is I'm going to move this off so that way everybody read that. I read it with you. Story time. It's always so much fun. So the next thing we're going to do is on the left side of the menu. It's not on the actual screen for you, but if you're following along at home, you can always do that. It's what's called dark files. And then what you do is you would have, and I already did some of these for some, so that way I don't have to worry about it for the dark frames for 900 seconds. I did take one, just waiting for the second one here, so this way I can actually use two. I'm only going to do two tonight. Usually you want to do an odd number for dark frames, ranging anywhere from 5 to 7. Okay, so you either do 5 or 7 to get it just right. And as I said, the dark frame is very, very, very important when you're doing processing. So, we'll just see. Just looking at the chat here real quick to see. 15-minute exposure, and yeah, the way that guiding was going last night, I probably could have done 25 or 30. Which is, I was hoping to do at least 30, but always keep backups of calibration files. Yes. The only problem was I haven't done 15 minutes. I have 20 and I have 30 minute for calibration frames. We don't have too much for 15s. Always have to adjust. Yeah. So this last one should be just about done. This one's it's buffering right now, so it's just about done. And then I'll just use these two that I just took just now. Okay, and it is done. Perfect. So now we got two. Excellent. So then I'll just use these two here for right now. And I'll add these two onto the images that I have. Red. Okay. Calibration. 2 calibration frames open. Done. Perfect. So now I go back to this. I click dark files. Okay. I've already extracted the red out of the darks. And now, if you look at the very bottom, you're going to notice there's two files here that have a different icon next to them. Those are the dark files. Okay? So now when it does its stacking, it's going to add the dark frames to the image. Okay? And what a dark frame will look like is it's going to show the thermoelectric noise in the actual image. And I can show everybody what a dark image looks like. Especially with a 15-minute image, you're gonna get a ton of noise. That's naturally going to happen, and I can show that real quick here. This is what one 15-minute exposure looks like. That's non-debayered. Okay, so you're noticing a lot of white speckles all over the place. Okay, and actually I'm gonna make it. This is a full frame right here, but if you look at it very carefully, you can see these are all the noise through this. Okay, so when I'm taking a 15-minute image, this noise will show up on the image, which a dark will subtract all of this, because it's going to show up on every single image. Okay? So this way, at least you get an idea of what an actual dark frame looks like. Okay? So then you say, well, what's the next thing? Well, the next thing you're going to do is flats. And what a flat file, or flat frame, flat frames are used to address unwanted problems in the optical path, including dirt and dust, vignetting, and internal reflections. Any changes in the optical path, I put patch, but it's path, sorry. I was typing really fast. Such as focal reducers, filters, camera orientation, or focus will require a new flat frame. To obtain the best possible flat frames, would mean taking it at the same conditions as the light or dark frames and bias frames, which we'll get to in a minute. To take the flat frames, first you need to get your scope into focus, which that means is the same focus as what you were taking for the lights, and then point it at an evenly illuminated surface. Flat frames can be taken from the twilight sky. The exposure time has to be chosen in such a way that the intensity level reaches approximately 50% of the maximum. With these flat frames, we can generate a master flat field frame. I actually have it's like a luminance board. It's actually, you would use it for like artists, for sketches, tracing, and it has different levels of light that you can use, and I have it hanging up against the wall. So when I'm done imaging, I point the telescope at the wall, and then I just take like 1 to 2 seconds, and it's going to be a flat surface, which means the histogram is going to be right in the middle. And that's what you want, because you want a flat surface. Hence, flat frames means flat image. Sometimes when you're taking these images, you're going to get a warped effect. You're going to get that weird coma-looking bubble effect. And a flat frame will eliminate that. Okay? And actually, I'm going to show you what a flat frame looks like. As I've taken these already before, so I can actually show you what a flat frame is. So just give me 1 second. I'm just going to open it up here. Okay, flat frame. Here's one right here. Okay, so we'll get rid of this. Flat frame, boom, boom. Display capture. Okay, so if you're looking at this image here, okay, this is one of my flat frames. And if you look carefully, you could see the bump is in the middle, okay? So you could see there's a lot of artifacts, there's a lot of dust motes, there's a lot of things on the sensor. These were taken, oh god, when were these taken? Last November, I think, for the flat frames. Nothing's changed. Focus hasn't changed, nothing has changed. Everything, same filter, same camera, same telescope, same everything. But you can tell that that bump is in the middle of the histogram, which is right here. And that's what you want. These were taken at 2-second exposures, pointing at this flat illuminated surface. And you could see all the dust motes, but what this will do is it'll get rid of all of them. And I'll be adding these. And you can see, like I said, OSCR flat. That means one-shot color, extracting the red channel. So same thing. And I took a whole bunch of them. Okay? Let me check to see if anybody's going through. A lot of people, and this is great. If you have any questions, I have the chat up. I'll be more than happy to answer any single question that anybody has regarding calibration frames. Okay, I'm sure a lot of people are just coming on just to see what the image looks like. Of course, naturally. Duh. You want to see what the image looks like. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost there. Okay? We're almost there. So, of course, naturally, then on the left-hand side, you're going to see what's called flat frames. And then I'm going to add these flat frames on here. Okay? Again, I took a whole bunch. I took them, again, about 4 or 5 months ago, but whatever. They're still good enough for me. I think I took them in May, I think. So they should still be good. So now you're going to notice that if I scroll down here, now you're going to notice there's a whole bunch more. But now it's going to say flat frames. So now I have lights, darks, and flats. Now we're going to do the bias frames, because that's next. Bias frames are fun. So at the bias frames, story time, I love it. When using a CCD or DSLR chip, not all the pixels start out at a value of 0. The purpose of a bias frame is to apply it to a dark and a light frame to bring all the pixels on the CCD or DSLR to an equal starting value. To make a bias frame, cover the aperture or corrector plate the same fashion that you do to a dark frame. Capture at the highest speed or lowest time your camera will allow. So what that means is if you're using a DSLR camera, try to get that speed to 1/40,000th of a second, or 1/25th thousandth of a second. If you're doing a CCD camera, try to do it at like 0.001 milliseconds. Try to do it as fast as you can. Okay? Bias frames should be taken at the same temperature and settings as the light frames. With these settings, we can generate a master bias frame. So, just like a dark frame, you got to keep it the same settings, okay? Pretty simple. Temperature, pretty easy, okay? So that's a bias frame, and I have a bunch of those too. Okay, we go to bias frames, and I'll show you one of my bias frames here. Bias frames, H alpha. Okay, there's one of my bias frames. Alright. Alright, so, oops. There it is. Alright, so this is one of my bias frames, okay? So you can see the histogram is very, 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 very tiny. Because, again, I'm only shooting this thing at, like, 0.01 milliseconds. It's extremely fast. Like, literally, you'll hear the CCD camera go click, click. That's it. That's all you want. You want the fastest possible with the cap on the telescope, okay? So that is the bias frame. Alright, so we're going to add the bias frames. And they're called offset bias frames, same thing. Okay, they're exactly the same thing. So now we're going to add the bias frames. And again, these were taken in May, so not a huge deal. Typically, an astronomer would want to take these the same night. So, like, in other words, if you're out there taking, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 images, you bring it in, that's when you're supposed to take the darks, the flats, the biases that same night. Because with a DSLR camera, the temperature is still the same, the focus is still the same, filter, everything is still exactly the same, so then the next morning when you wake up, everything's all going to be there. CCD camera's a little bit different because you can actually gauge all the settings, like I said before. So, we now have the light frames, the dark frames, the bias frames, and the flat frames. We have everything all here. Now, the next thing to do is pick the best image out of the bunch. So I like to go through each one, you know, prior. Because sometimes you're going to get an image that the stars trailed a little bit, they're not that great, and you know, the darkness isn't all that great. This one actually looked pretty good. We'll pick this one. This one seems to be the best. Then what I do is, you notice on some of these cameras, there's a black border around the outside. Okay? And with this black border that you see here, you want to eliminate that because, especially with the histogram, when you're stacking, it's going to stack that black border. So the levels are going to be completely off, and it's going to look like junk. And you don't want that. So what you do is you click and you hold the mouse, and you can see there's a red border that's going around. You want to try to get it right on the image, okay? So now that's a red image, and now it's going to be right in that red box is what you want, okay? And then now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to show you the display capture so you can get actually what the entire thing shows, okay? That menu on the left-hand side, which is open picture file, dark files, flat files, dark flats. Dark flats, I don't really care to do. It's pretty much the same thing. I don't care for them. So don't do them. Open file list, save the file list, clear list, check all. You want to check all. Everything's already checked to begin with, but you just want to make sure. Next thing you do is what's called registered checked pictures. It's green. That's a good thing. Because your green means you got your darks, your flats, your offset biases. Everything's good. Right? Wrong. Next thing you got to do is you got to go to what's called advanced. I don't know if it's showing up on here. Is it showing up on there? Yes, it is. All right, perfect. What you want to do is what's called star detection threshold. What that means is you don't want to stack these when you have a whole bunch of stars. The problem is if you bring this sucker down, all the way down to, say, like 2%, okay, and you hit OK without the median filter, you're going to be here for a long time. Because it's going to actually pick up each and every pixel as a star. It's going to actually register probably 100,000 stars. You don't want that. You want it to get to be about 50 to 75 stars. So we'll try 44%. We'll see what it says. Not bad. 93. We'll bring it down just a little bit. We'll bring it up to 53%. Well, that'll get us to be about what? 79. Okay, about 69. Let's see. Perfect. 56 stars. Excellent. That's what you want. You want it to be between 50 and 60 stars. This way, it's just stacking. It's finding the guide frame, and it's actually finding each image to actually stack the actual image itself, which is great. The next thing you want to do is what's called recommended settings. Sometimes a lot of people don't really do anything with these, only because they just let what Deep Sky Stacker suggests, and then they just leave it alone. So the settings that are already in green is what you have. I don't usually touch this stuff. I mean, you're stacking 7 light frames. You know, you can click that to be average. You know, you can click the median. That's good. Okay, and then that's pretty much it. So you just hit OK. Stacking parameters is next. Now there's more tabs! More tabs for everybody! This is just so much fun. So the next thing is stacking parameters. And what this means is your result, you either have standard mode, mosaic, intersection, or custom rectangle. We're doing custom rectangle because that's that red box that you just saw. If you have a super fast laptop or an amazing computer with unlimited RAM, you can do the enable 2 times, and I love this word, drizzle, for shizzle, or you can do the 3 times drizzle. I don't like to do either one of them, only because it takes a lot of computing, and especially when I'm doing streaming at the same time as this, it's going to lag big time. So I'm just going to leave it as is. If you're doing a colored image, you would want to do the RGB channels aligned. I'm not doing it this time. The next thing is called light frames. Just leave it as average. But again, you can play with the settings. You could either do median, or you could do kappa sigma. You could do a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of different things you can do. Darks, I keep it at median. Flats, I keep it at average. Bias offsets, median. Again, there's not going to be too much of a difference if you say, for instance, you want to do kappa sigma. It really doesn't matter. And what I like about this is it does tell you each thing individually of what each thing is. But I keep it like that. Alignment, automatic. Here's the good one. Okay, cosmetic. Now, intermediate files, whatever, it's good enough. But cosmetic. If you're doing a colored image, you want to detect the hot and cold pixels. Since I'm doing it in black and white, I'm not going to worry about it. I don't care for it right now. But if you're doing it, you want to detect it, and then you can actually slide these to actually get it just right. But I'm not doing it right now, and of course your output folder, you can actually put it into a certain folder, so this way you know where the actual autosave goes to. So we're going to click OK. And then we're going to click OK again. And now it's going to do one last review to make sure that everything is in good shape, everything's ready to go, and we're going to hit OK. So now what it's going to do is it's going to apply the offsets, the 8 that we took. Pretty simple. This might take a little bit. If you have a slow computer, this will take forever. So you got to be very, very careful what settings you pick, especially with, you know, what kind of computer you have. Dude, I'm just going back in the chats while this is going. I'm just looking at the chat here. I apologize that I haven't had a chance to go back here. I'm just going back here a second here. Sherry's on, Chris Astro Channel, Tracy's on, Jeff, you're on, Jurgen, Venus, Earth Radio, Most Intelligent Ever Born. But let me see if there's any questions I can answer here. Let's give me 1 second here. You need to take flat frames each night. Yeah, I know, but I don't. That's the problem, because I get so freaking tired. That's the problem. Do I DBE my flats? That's a dynamic background exterminator? No, I don't. I do not, actually. Even though I should, I don't. What would be the minimum and or recommended number of frames do you need to take? Lights, darks, flats, biases. Do you take 10 frames of each category? Well, that's all opinion, because one person will say take 10, another person will say take 15. I heard somebody say take odd numbers. I don't know why you would say odd, but you could take odd numbers, like say for instance, the more light frames you take, I would suggest take more of the darks, flats, and biases. But if you're taking, say, only 5 or 6 of light frames, match it. Probably just do 5, and then you should be fine. Again, this is all opinionated. Not telling you to do it my way, because my way might be the wrong way. You know? Other people in the chat room might say, I do it this way. Again, I've seen it happen where at my local astronomy club, where we get data from one night from the observatory, and we all grab our thumbsticks or USB drives and plug it in the computer, and we all take it home, and then we all post that ourselves on the website. And everyone's image is completely different. Same data, but everyone's is completely different. There's no wrong way of doing this. So that's the best part. There's no wrong way. I'm just helping people to let everyone know how I do it. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, though. So, now the next thing is, now you're going to get this image. Okay? So now, I'm going to show everybody what's on the bottom. Okay. Just give me a second here. I'm just changing this up here. There we go. Okay. So now, at the top, you're going to see this. A little black image. Okay? At the bottom, you're going to see... Now, if you're doing it red, green, and blue, you're going to have three arcs. You're going to have a red, a green, and a blue. But since we're doing it in black and white, you're just going to have a gray arch. Again, this is going to be all opinion. Somebody does it one way, somebody does it another way. This is the way that I do it. Okay? You're going to have a little slider over here. I like to keep this slider over here, and I like to keep this at about 20%. So right about there. Okay? So you got the data, which is all right here. This is what you want. Then you select the tab Luminance. Okay? You want to get this S-curve to be right at the data itself. Now, if you crank this midtone to 0, you're going to get a ton of noise. So you want to try to get it between 4 to 6 degrees. I crank this one all the way up to 100 degrees. And then this is the highlights. I want to try to get a nice curve at the top. Okay. And then we're going to move this over about here. And there's no saturation on this, only because the fact that it's a black and white image. And then you hit apply. And then mostly what you're just trying to do is you're just trying to get as much detail to pop out as possible. Okay? That should be good, right about there. Okay? And again, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be awesome. But you get an idea of what this is going to do. Okay. Is it lagging on your guys' end? It was probably lagging because I was doing the thing. Let me see here. It's still going strong. It's still going good. So then the next thing we're going to do is, if this is the way you want it, and this is how it... And again, you can play with it. Make it darker. Make it lighter. I mean, that should be pretty good. That's not too bad. Then we're going to go over to save save picture to file. Okay. And then we're going to type in NGC281. Alright, and then we're going to save it. So now the stacking is done. Okay. Now we're going to go over to the wonderful post-processing. Okay. So now we're going to flip the scene. Okay. This is an image that I took of the sunflower a long, long time ago. This was actually one single image of the sunflower. Forever and ever and ever ago. So hang on, let me just pull this up here. Okay. In which actually this is a really cool image of the sunflower. One image. Look at the detail on that. One shot! That's the sunflower. That's M63. That's fantastic. That's when I was really going good. Okay, it's good now, okay. It was probably lagging really badly because it was running that process, because it takes like 1 or 2 processors to actually stack that. So it was probably really bad. I knew that was going to be a bad idea. Alright, so then the next thing we're going to do is now we're going to close out Deep Sky Stacker because we're done with that. And now we're going to do Photoshop. Oh, Photoshop. Now there are different versions of Photoshop. There's CS2, CS3, CS5, CS6. Whole bunch of Photoshops. One that I have is Photoshop CS3. The other laptop I have somewhere, I don't know, it's one of my laptops. I think it's CS5. Doesn't really matter, it's all the same. Doesn't matter. They all have the same plugins no matter what. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find the image that I just stacked. Find it. Where is it? Look for it here. Oh yeah, duh. Details. There it is. Loading. Okay. So now we have the image that we took. Can everybody see it? Yes, they can. Fantastic. Make it bigger. There we go. So now you can really see it. Okay. So now I've split it to between 2 windows. Right window is the actual image itself. You can actually see it. Beautiful. Wonderful. The image on the left is what's called Carbani Tools. And I have this on my website at elliot-astronomy.com. If you go on the bottom right, it's going to be called the Processing Center. And it's Carbani Tools, which is an amazing thing to do if you're looking to do processing. Okay? And what I have it written down differently. Actually, I want to pull it up. It's called Astronomy Tools by Pro Digital Software. That's what it's called. I think it's about $21, but it actually takes step by step for everything. And I'm going to go over everything to show you what it can do. The other thing is called Gradient Exterminator by Russell Croman. And what that does is like what they were just talking about with DBE, with the Dynamic Background Exterminator. The DBE is used in PixInsight. Photoshop uses Gradient Exterminator. Now, I could use Gradient Exterminator on each flat frame, but I choose not to. I'm going to do it to the actual final image. Okay? So what I'm going to do is the first thing is I'm going to create a copy. There we go. And then I will actually go back and forth and show you the difference of what it can do. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is what's called Gradient Exterminator. Alright? Boom. Done. It was so quick. It was so fast. This is what the image looked like before. This is what the image looks like now. Okay? And there's different settings, okay? So what you can do is there's different ones. So like when you go to Grading Exterminator, there's detail of fine, medium, or coarse. Or aggressiveness, which is high, medium, or low. So we're going to try low on this one. That's actually a lot better. So you can actually see that it looks a ton better. It actually pops out the nebula a little bit more. And again, this is what it looks like before. This is what it looks like now. Big difference. Okay? The next one would be HLVG, but of course there is no green because we're doing it in black and white. If I was doing it in a color image, that would be the next thing I would do. We don't need to do that. Now the fun part. This is where it really starts to come out. It's going to be great. Is the action tools. Okay? So this is this wonderful thing on the left-hand side that you're going to see here, right here. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to click this, and you can see every step that it's going to take for this one, which is called Make Stars Smaller. Okay? So we're going to make another copy. And then we're going to hit the little go button. It's like a little triangle, and we're going to hit go. Okay, so it's going to try to do it. It's going to think. It's going to do every single step. And it's done. Now you're going to look at it and say, well, it really didn't change. It really didn't do much. I don't understand. What happened? You can actually see the stars actually get smaller. Okay? And yeah, there are some lines, only because I think there was a bad flat frame somewhere in here that kind of got screwed up. But whatever. We're good enough. Next thing is going to be the deep space noise reduction, and there's a ton of steps on this. These are already in it when you purchase it. So when you actually do it, you'll actually upload it as a plugin. And then you're just going to click it. And it's just going to go. And it's going to go through each step. And it's done. And you can actually see the difference. So this is without it. This is with it. So you can see there's a big, big difference. Okay? The next one is this called Space Noise Reduction. Okay? So we're going to hit that. Again, if this is going to slow the system down, I apologize, but I bet you after it goes live, it's probably going to be super perfect. So it's going to take some time. Okay, so now it's done. So again, you're going to look at the difference. It's going to be a flatter image, and then you're going to start to see more detail around the actual nebula, which is super awesome. Alright? Now the big one, which is going to be Enhance DSO and Reduce the Stars. This one takes the longest, but with a fast computer, it can be done in about 10 seconds. Almost done. And it's done. Okay. So now you're going to see a huge difference. So this is without the Enhanced DSO. This is with Enhanced DSO. Gigantic difference. And then, of course, the next one would be Increased Star Color, but there is no color because it's in black and white. And then there's the Less Crunchy, More Fuzzy. And I click that one. So what that just does is it creates a more natural color, not color, but more natural feel to the stars and to the actual background. So, I mean, and that's pretty much it. And then you can play with levels, you can play with curves, like I can play with the levels here. And I can actually get it darker on the sides here if I really need to. And I can cut this off here. Right about there for levels. That's pretty much it. And that's from last night. So this is 105 minutes of the Pac-Man, shot with a colored camera, by the way. This is not monochrome. This is a colored camera. At 15-minute exposures last night. I mean, that looks pretty solid. I mean, I can't really complain. I mean, that's pretty darn good to me. I'm sure, there's a lot of images out there that probably that's going to put my images to shame. But keep in mind, one, I'm in an absolutely horrid place for light pollution, where I'm surrounded by 2 big cities, okay? 2, the moon was half when I was taking these images, so when I get out here at midnight, the moon was just rising, and where I'm shooting was about 25 degrees of where the moon was, so that didn't help either. So you take with what you can get. I mean, it's still pretty awesome. If you ever get a chance, check out Jurgen on his YouTube channel and look at some of the subs he can do. Oh boy. And Jurgen, I actually watched some of yours, and it was just like, wow. It was incredible. Let me just check on the chat here. What cameras is he using? Who, me? And yeah, you can see the depth of the photo. The camera that was used for this is the QHY-9C. It's a colored camera. With a 12 nanometer H-alpha filter that's in front of it. With a 0.8 focal reducer, field flattener. Still not bad. I mean, where I'm located, I'm actually between red and white in the Bortle scale. So I'm like, it's crazy to look south and to see a light dome of light pollution where Buffalo is. And then you look north, and then like northwest is the light dome of Niagara Falls. And then you look east, and then there's a little tiny light dome where Amherst is. And then there's Clarence. It doesn't end. Like, literally, it's like a 360-degree view of light pollution. And there's nowhere around it. Like, I can't get the lagoon, the Trifid. I can't get any of that because there's so much light pollution. What I'll probably... Actually, want to know what? I think it's in one of my videos, and you can actually see how much light pollution there is. And it did come out great. I think this image turned out really, really good. I'm going to probably post this on Facebook, and I'm probably going to post it on a couple other sites, too. It actually turned out really good. And that's how I do most of my images. Pretty much from start to finish. And you can see the nebulosity. Now, just wait till next year when I get the monochrome camera. All this detail in here is going to be so fine and so intricate and so amazing. Because I was talking about, Jurgen, you were on last night, and you were taking just 4-minute exposures on this same object a couple nights ago. And 4 minutes, and you were getting some of the detail I don't think I've ever seen on the Pac-Man. Ever. So, just amazing. Just absolutely incredible. Exposure time for each sub was 900 seconds. And the filter that I used, it's a... God, what's it called? Oh, jeez, I can't remember. It's a hydrogen alpha filter. It's 12 nanometers. Jeez, I can't remember. Night something. I can't remember the exact name of it. I'd have to take it apart and take a look. It was like night sky something. It's a viewing hydrogen alpha filter. It's not a imaging one. yes, the fall will be better for imaging. The humidity won't be as bad. It will be a little bit cooler outside because, of course, that's the other thing, too, last night. It was 81 degrees outside and a humidity of 1,000,000%. Well, not really million, but it was very, very, very hot. It was hot even just sitting there. It was really bad. So is there any other questions or anything I can definitely answer for anybody? Yeah, Jurgen, you're using PixInsight. I don't use PixInsight at all. I tried once. I had the free trial, used it for a while. It is so cool, but it's so expensive. I can't get PixInsight and Photoshop at the same time. Maybe one day down the road I will, and I'll do a tutorial on that. And it is so cool with the DBE on that. It's incredible. It's like night and day. So I think we're in good shape. Could you read about Saturday's pics? 2 fake satellite pics were on website of USA Embassy in Kiev before MH17 was shot. Proof was on Wikipedia. All text was deleted also from Wayback Machine USA. Really? Interesting. And it did show up. Interesting. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the information. And it will be helpful. Tracy, if you need any help with anything, please let me know. And I'll be more than happy to help you with anything that you need. For stacking, for processing. You know, doing the Gradient Exterminator and doing the Hasta La Vista Green and the Pro Digital tools, those 3 helped my images tenfold. I couldn't believe the difference. Like, I was going back to images I took 2 years ago, and you look at those images and go, wow, I didn't know that data was in there. So, and you're very welcome, Jeff. And Jeff, if you need any help, let me know. I'm sure I'm going to learn from you, and you're going to learn from me. I'm always looking for something, because I'll tell you, when somebody taught me how to do levels and star masking, and that's, again, for another night, you know, somebody taught me how to do something which was so cool, is you can actually, for processing, you can actually take the stars, move the stars, and not move the stars, but you can actually click each star individually, mask them out, enhance the image, and then bring the stars back in. Because remember, what happens is when you're changing the levels and you're bringing up the exposure and you're bringing up all the data, the stars are going with it, which means those tiny little stars become bloated. But when you actually mask each star using a color range, you can actually cut the layer of the stars out and then enhance the image and then put the stars back, and it looks 10 times better. But again, that's for another night. I didn't want to make this into a 2 or 3 hour tutorial, because I can always help you with certain images. So if there's certain things that anybody needs, you know where to find me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm trying to get on the Instagram thing. Earth Radio you were talking about, on Stellar. That's another one. I got to figure that one out too. I made an account, but I have no idea what the heck to do. Dude, I did with custom red with DSS. What camera were you using? Because I'm going to be on for about another 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to call it a night. It's cloudy here, so I'm not even going to try, but the good news is tomorrow night is clear. So let me know what object you want me to get tomorrow, because my go-to still sucks. My go-to is still freaking terrible, and I still can't figure it out. I messaged Mark D'Antonio this morning. Hopefully he can help me, because I have no idea what to do. I have no idea. I calibrate on a star. I do the alignment process outside. I get everything with the 2-star alignment. Everything's all great. I go to an object and it's not even close to the object. I reset the mount. I reset the computer. I reset the program. I know nothing about this, but enjoying listening to you. And that's great, Cherry. And I like it too. I try to make this as interesting as possible. I can't get in my Instagram. I think I'm too old for this new social sites. Did I shoot the Pleiades before? Yes, I did. I have gotten the Pleiades. Do I have it? I don't know if I have it on here. It might be on my other laptop. Well, actually, actually kind of funny that if you go to my YouTube account, and when you actually see some of the actual thumbnail images, the welcome to... Actually, you want to know what? Here's what I'll do. Duh. I can actually show you. Right here. This is an actual image I took of the Pleiades. Right here. That background I took with the Orion G3 of the Pleiades. From here, by the way. This was 3 hours of exposure time. And you can actually see the dust lanes and everything all through here. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts of the images. And these two little stars that are right above the A, that's the middle of the Pleiades. Which is super, super cool. It's super awesome. I'll show people that image later. On Stellar is easy. Yeah, I'll have to figure that out. Because I know Bill from Skywatcher Gaming, he's on it. And I've seen a couple other people go on it too. So maybe tonight, I think that's what I'll do, is I'll head over to OnStellar and see how that works. Because I've heard it's the alternative of Facebook for astronomers. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm going to definitely give that a shot. So, is there anything else from anybody that I can help you guys with? Because I am going to end this broadcast because it's been exactly an hour. But we accomplished a lot again, so it's always a good thing. Every night we're getting something new. More Jello, you're on. More Jello comes in after the fact. I did create an account, or I did. I got an account, I got everything, I followed Bill from Skywatcher Gaming. I just don't know what else to do after that. I gotta really figure it out. I just don't know. But I'll get to it. Maybe that's what I'll do tonight. And Earth Radio, don't worry, I am not forgetting about you for tomorrow. I will be home... I'm hoping by 10:30 my time, which will be 9:30 your time. 11 at the latest. Prow, you're on too. Everyone's coming on after the fact. Which is okay, which is fine, because the best part is you can always go back and rewatch this, which is super awesome. Good night, Tracy. Good night, Toad. So if there's anything you guys need, let me know, but I'm going to end this broadcast. Message me if you guys need anything, and if you want me to get an object for tomorrow, let me know, and I can try my best to get something for you guys. So with that, thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. I will post what time I'll be out here to let you know. So have a wonderful night, guys. Thank you. Bye.